Hello and welcome to another episode of the Talkology Podcast. I'm your host, Otaku Mike. With me, as always, is Jin. He's either going to cast a fireball or cast a spell of protection, Graves. And today, we're talking about Stranger Things Season 1, Episode 1, The Vanishing of Will Byers.
So let me ask you this first.
What?
Which one of those would you cast?
I would probably go with Fireball.
Okay.
Fireball, probably.
I would probably cast Fireball too.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to ask how big the room is. So I'm just going to cast.
I just have to say, so we were both watching the newest season of Stranger Things season 5.
Right.
You know, and we both had the idea to go back and kind of rewatch and go through all of Stranger Things with if I calculated it correctly, it'll be about around like maybe over 50 episodes, I think it was.
Yeah.
Depending, I don't remember how many are in the newest season, but we decided to go back and, cover.
I think there's 8.
It's like 8, 9, 8, 9 is what it is. So like it alternates back and forth for each season. We decided to go back and go take a walk down memory lane and check out and reminisce about Stranger Things. And oh boy, was it a blast from the past, I have to say.
Oh boy. Yeah,
do you remember like where you were in like your life when this came out?
So yes and no. One thing though that you have to think about for this is the first time I watched it, and I watched the whole thing, and I just wasn't a big fan of it, like at all.
Like when you first watched it?
When I first watched it, yeah.
Okay.
I couldn't stand it. I didn't get the nostalgia from it. Anything else, I didn't know why. Just didn't.
Yeah.
And then later on, I gave it another chance. I think this was like right before season 3 came out, maybe. And I watched season 1 again, and it just seemed like it was the best thing ever. So I don't know between those two times what had changed.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. I remember kind of sort of both times.
Okay. Interesting. So it's interesting that you say that you like didn't like it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like honestly, like when it first came out, like it was like a hidden gem of a show. Like people were like saying, "Hey, have you watched the show called Stranger Things on Netflix?" Like I think I don't know if Netflix was maybe streaming. Netflix was still in its infancy. Maybe I'm not for sure to be exact, but
Netflix was like that old grandpa. I'm hip. I'm cool.
hip. I'm cool. But like to have something that like had like a real grassroots approach to it almost, and comes from nostalgia, I would say. But like it like steamrolled into something really really big, like a really big franchise, and just to see where it is now to where it came from is really really fun to see. When this first came out,
mm-hmm.
I had no interest in watching this show. No interest at all. So I didn't know anything about it. I just heard people talking about it. And I thought this was going to be like a really bad like horror series. Kind of like what's that one that keeps going on and they like change the actors and stuff?
American Horror Story?
American Horror Stories. Yeah, I thought it was going to be kind of like that.
Yeah.
And boy, was I so wrong. Unlike you, where you weren't hooked, I was hooked from like episode fucking 1.
You're like, I was hooked from hello.
I was hooked from, oh yeah, let's get into this, because I was like, oh, interesting. Like we're going for like a retro vibe, because I had no idea it was taking place in the 80s, and like it gave off really really big Goonies vibes with. if you don't know
Yeah.
anything about me, I'm a big fan of the Goonies.
Hell
So
yeah.
like it automatically drew me in with that aspect as being somewhat like a horror version of the Goonies, I would say.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely, and like I said, I don't know when it changed or whatever, but I like the Goonies and things like that as well. And it was always kind of weird that like coming back to it, like those were kind of things that I thought about, and then finding out like what the genre is for it.
Yeah.
Because there's actually an RPG that I'm learning slash know a little bit about that's called Kids on Bikes, which obviously like this was one of those things of why I kind of wanted to get into it, and then finding out that Kids on Bikes is actually a genre, and finding out that like a lot of the shows that I grew up with, like the Goonies, like E.T., um, what else is there? I think even like Gremlins is kind of in there. Stand By Me, some of the other ones like that were all part of this theme. And I was
I
like,
don't think they rode bikes on Stand By Me.
uh, because it's the four boys that go camping, right?
Yeah, but I don't think they ride bikes.
They ride bikes up to the woods. That's the
Okay.
only time, but it is considered part of the kids on bikes genre, which
I don't know
throws
if
me
that's a
off.
fucking genre.
It's a subgenre.
Okay, it's the
Yeah.
subgenre.
But it throws me off because then also if you sit there and think about Gremlins, you're like, when did the kid ever ride a bike except for maybe like at one point to get away? Like,
I haven't seen. I mean, you could also possibly. I don't think they rode bikes, but the Lost Boys. If you ever seen the Lost Boys,
yeah, I could
it's
see
like
that.
it's like Vampire Goonies almost.
Yeah, yeah.
Which we should cover the Lost Boys sometime on here, like maybe Halloween next year or something.
Add it to the list.
Add it to the list. Um,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, but I mean, like I will say this is the only show that I actually watched everything to the end before I was kind of like,
yeah. Like I
but
really liked it, but like
yeah,
I didn't know if Netflix was going to even like pick it back up because Netflix is notorious for like creating something or having something funded and created and like not doing anything with it.
yeah.
Like not like oh, we're done. It's a one and done thing, even though we've have options for multiple seasons. We're just gonna cancel it. You
Yeah,
know.
well, I think that part of it is that way with them, but they also probably have like a bigger picture than we do on. Well, we don't see this being successful, even though it could be.
Probably.
They've gotten burnt enough by things like that because I remember at one point they would like kind of gaslight stuff to be that way, and
Yeah.
then it would turn around and it'd be just this horrible fucking season, and you're like, okay, well, why won't you like make up for it with season 3? They're like, we're not taking that chance.
I'm looking at you, final season of Umbrella Academy.
You ain't lying.
By the way, I've never seen the final season of Umbrella Academy because of that.
I didn't. I didn't think you've seen like the last 2 seasons of it because
No, I did watch season 3, which I like
okay,
season 3. I like season 3. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
um, yeah,
But let's get into this show. Let's get into this show. So our story starts out in November 6th, 1983 in Hawkins, Indiana. Oh boy, this first opening scene, I feel like I was going to have an epileptic seizure watching this scene
yeah,
with all the flashing lights and seeing like this mysterious guy. We don't know who he is. They're at like this. Oh, this was like a Hawkins something like laboratory, I think it was, which is like a
yeah.
government laboratory. I forget what the name of it's called. You remember what it is?
Ooh, then the specific name.
Yeah,
Keep talking. Let me look that
I
up
don't
real quick.
remember what it is, but we see this guy. He is
Hawkins National Laboratory.
okay. The National Laboratory. We see this guy running for his life. The lights are flickering on and off, and he gets eaten by a mysterious something. We don't know what it is. And we end up actually jumping over to our main characters, I would say, for this show.
Yeah.
Our main four characters, four of them, right?
Yeah.
Four. Yeah, four, because 11 would be five,
Yeah. Yeah.
essentially. Yeah, five, where we see them playing a game of Dungeons and Dragons. And they've been playing for like 10 hours.
Yeah, they have. And this is an old version of Dungeons and Dragons.
Old version of Dungeons and Dragons, yes. And I
I
have to
had to
say,
I had to tell somebody that today, and they're like, "Well, what version were they playing?" They had to have books. I said, "Yeah." I said it was when it came in a board game box
like what,
with like a
probably
pamphlet.
second edition, maybe?
That's what I think is second
Yeah.
edition, maybe early first, maybe.
Maybe, yeah, yeah. And we get this all, I would say probably a really, really good depiction of like actual kids playing Dungeons and Dragons. Like, they're getting into it, they lose their dice at some points, but they have to stop because Mike has to go and eat dinner. And we see all of the kids go off, and each one
Uh,
of them.
did Mike have to eat dinner?
Yeah, I think it was. Or they had like call it a night or something like that. I think it was.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. They had to call it a
Which,
night because it was going to be a school night.
yeah, because it was school night. Yeah, which we
So
see.
I believe this is a Sunday then.
Okay, it's a Sunday.
Yeah, because they played for 10 hours, and it was supposed to be a school night. So that's the only day I could think of that it would be as a Sunday.
Which I wanted to talk about something real quick.
Okay.
In this, we see them. Dustin talks about, which there was Dustin, Mike, Will, and Lucas are their names. We see Dustin go for like the last piece of pizza, and he goes to give it to Mike's sister Nancy. I totally forgot about this. Did Dustin have a crush on Nancy at one point?
Yeah.
Okay, because I totally forgot about that. I haven't watched this since it came out.
Yeah, Dustin has a crush on Nancy for, oh shoot, I want to say either the end of this season or into the end of the next season when they did
Okay,
the prom.
okay. Oh yeah, that's right, that's right. So we see them leave, and we see each of them depart to their houses. We see Will race Dustin for his X-Men. I think it's 134. I think
Yeah,
it
yeah.
is,
I think that's what it is, yeah.
which is the first appearance, I think, of the Dark Phoenix, if I remember correctly. I can't remember. And we see him, and he noticed something on the road. We don't get a good look at it, which all scary and well shot at this point. Where we see him like running through the woods to his house. He's obviously close by his house, and he's running through trying to find people. He makes a phone call, nothing, and we see him like in his shed where he has a rifle. I don't know if it's like a pellet gun or an actual rifle that he has.
Yeah, I'd say it's kind of in between both of those.
Yeah, and this being that's been following Will around, he actually comes up from behind and takes him. And this is where
Yeah,
we get to the next day, where we see Will's mom, I believe,
yeah.
Joyce. I always forget her name, Joyce, and we meet
Joyce
her.
and Jonathan.
And we meet her brother. We meet his brother Jonathan, and they're getting ready. She's getting ready for work. She can't find her keys. And at this point, like, I forgot like how much of like a, I don't want to say like irresponsible mom, but like she's
No,
very much,
she's more of like a latchkey mom, I would have to say.
yeah,
Like, because like the reason why she was gone was because she was working, and obviously like she's just kind of bringing home like ends meet and everything, and and you can tell that Jonathan has kind of that big all help the family mentality
yeah, yeah.
because he knew that Will was going to be at Mike's house playing games,
Mm-hmm.
and then he basically took up for taking a shift at work because he's like, well, I knew we could use the money.
Making probably like $2 to $3 an hour, to be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah, it's probably not that much, and
Yeah,
they don't really say what he's doing, and I kind of feel like he's working at a burger joint.
I
Like
think so. I
that's what
don't
it sounds
remember.
like.
I don't remember if they ever like establish where he works, but probably flipping burgers or something. To be honest,
Yeah,
and she finds her keys and they're in the couch, and she goes to wake up Will, and Will is not there. So she calls Mike Mike's mom, Miss Wheeler, which Miss Wheeler is a looker, I have to say.
Karen.
Yes, Karen.
Yeah,
Karen.
yeah.
Karen's a milf. Karen's a milf, and I don't think I've ever noticed it till like actually getting to season 5 because the parents are hardly in this show except for maybe Joyce.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean I don't want to objectify women, but she's a very attractive lady.
Then you just gotta wait till like season 3
Oh yeah, we're at the pool, right?
at the pool. Yeah,
Yeah, at the pool. And they're like, no, Will's not here, and so this is where she starts to kind of freak out at this point. And then we meet our other one of our other main characters, which is Hopper. Jim Hopper, right?
Jim Hopper. Yeah,
Yeah, I always just call him Hopper. Jim Hopper, we see him getting ready for work, and he's kind of a deadbeat, to be honest. He's like a fucking like alcoholic at this point, because I feel like, which we don't find out till later, but like his wife has left him, his daughter has died, so he has nothing really going for him. But we
yeah, yeah,
find out that he is like the sheriff of Hawkins, which
yeah. And, well, and at this part too, it's kind of funny because we do have him like standing beside a lake, just
yeah,
out there smoking and everything. Which I heard a funny part on this is originally whenever he was cast to be
yeah,
Hop, that he's like, oh man, I got to work out and I got to be in shape, a little
yeah.
bit, and somebody had to go in and tell him like, hey, you've read your script and your guy drinks a lot of beer and eats a lot of donuts, and so they're like, do you really think it makes sense that your guy would have like abs?
he's
He
he's
goes,
he's 80s fit.
no, I know, I guess you're right.
Yeah, he's 80s fit right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is funny. Like, there was this one part that really cracked me up, and it was a subtle detail. Like, he had to bend over to take a shower.
Oh
like, he,
yeah.
like he
I
couldn't fit in the
I
shower.
always think of that. I always think of that cuz like when I grew up with like my grandparents and everything, like their showers were always real low and I was like,
Yeah.
god, I got to be a fucking giant if the head of the shower can't even reach me. And so it always trips me up watching this first episode whenever I get to, cuz then you notice it with Hopper and you're like, I feel you, buddy. I feel you. You're being too tall to wash your hair and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, he's really like, I feel like just living day to day and just like going about his day, not really doing anything really productive, because like even him being the sheriff of the town, like Hawkins is a really like quiet and quaint town. Like,
Yeah,
when he gets to work, nothing happens. Nothing happens except I think somebody is stealing lawn gnomes.
they think somebody's stealing lawn
Yeah,
gnomes, and
yeah,
it's that classic thing that we've seen from the '90s where there's like a little old man or a little old lady where the gnomes are getting moved or somebody's picking something up or whatever, and they're playing a trick on them or whatever, and they have a problem with it,
yeah.
which you know being that the first time I watched this, I don't think I knew really what this was. But I really think this is gnoming.
Oh
Have you ever
yeah.
heard of that before?
I've heard of forking.
No. So, gnoming is where uh you'll act like the gnome disappears and goes somewhere. So somebody
Oh,
will pick up the gnome and take it with them, almost like
Elf on a Shelf.
yeah, or like Flat Stanley, how you
Yeah,
would get the
yeah,
little guy and take him with you,
yeah.
and then would take pictures and stuff and send it back to the owner sometimes of, hey, your guy, and then just magically they appear back in the yard one time.
I love doing Flat Stanley as a kid.
Yeah.
I thought that was the
So
most fun thing to do.
I kind of wonder if this part was gnoming, or if it was somebody like really going to like take these and they were going to bust him up or something,
I mean, probably. Maybe hold him for hostage. I don't
Yeah.
know. But we see
Give
him and
me
he's
give
like,
me give me your change for the gumball machine.
we see Hopper, he gets to work. He's like kind of nonchalant. He's like, okay, I'll get to it. He hears about Joyce Byers and her son's missing, apparently. She's really sad.
Well, and we get one of the best lines that I feel like has echoed through the series too. In the morning is meant for coffee and contemplation.
Yes. As he's saying that, he finds out that Joyce Byers is in his office. And he starts asking questions. He's like, okay, like, have you heard from his dad? And this is when we find out, like, according to everybody else, Will is a very sensitive kid,
Yeah.
which I don't know if they meant to do this or not, but they very much hint at like Will's different. Like indifferent, I mean like possibly gay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I don't know if they're planting seeds that far into it because I know they kind of touch on it in other
I
seasons a little bit.
I don't know. I feel like they were. I feel like they knew that that's the way his character was always going to
Because
go.
they've kind of incorporated like stuff with Dustin and his actual personality and stuff like that, and stuff that's going
Yeah,
on
yeah.
with him and stuff.
Having the dysplasia.
Yeah, but I don't know if the actor for Will. I think he recently came out like a couple years ago.
Yeah, I don't know if he came out with that with the series, because I mean he would have been really young at that point.
Yeah, I don't. I think a few seasons in probably.
But I do think that they probably thought that they could put those ties in this episode for that. But at the same time, it was also buried under, since we brought up Lonnie, it
Yeah,
was
yeah,
it was also buried under that BS of some like old school dads, like, my kid can't be gay.
yeah,
But yeah, I think like that was kind of the old school dad mentality of things like that, was they didn't want their kids to be gay, but then they
yeah.
almost like reinforced some of that because they would call them gay or
Which
the F word.
I can't remember. Is this in like the big like AIDS epidemic at this point?
I think this is afterwards.
After? Okay, okay.
Or no, I bet this is before.
Okay, because I can't remember to be honest. But maybe that's why. Yeah, I mean, like back then we just kind of threw around those slurs as like insults or whatever. They were like nonchalant, like I'm not going to say
Yeah.
them, and I'm not going to say them at this moment. But like they had like I
The
guess
the
double
British word
meanings.
the British word that people call cigarettes.
Cigarettes. Yeah,
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 yeah. I mean, like, but yeah, I mean, dads just kind of did that back in the day, I
yeah,
guess.
yeah. No, most definitely. And it's weird, like seeing it pop up again. It's really weird. I have to say, like hearing people just be like, "Oh yeah, we think he's gay because he's sensitive." You know?
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. And
Yeah.
I'm really surprised that we didn't have more characters that were kind of in that field. Does
Like
that make sense?
throwing that like the words around.
No, like more kids that were gay.
Oh
Because I mean, obviously, we'll have the character later on that comes out as more of a lesbian,
yeah,
but we don't really get any other characters besides like those people that are together that are gay or lesbian.
Yeah. And so we end up moving from this to the high school, or not the high, at the high school, right?
Middle school.
Where we see Nancy, and Nancy is talking to her best friend Barb,
Yeah,
which
middle school.
no, I think it's high school because the boys are in middle school at the moment. Like the boys
Oh,
are in middle school, and I think Nancy
I
is in
guess
high
that's right.
school. Yeah,
Yeah.
Nancy's in high school because Steve's in high school. Um,
Okay.
yeah, and we hear them talking. Apparently, she made out with, I'm guessing, Steve Harrington
Yeah.
a couple times, and Barb is like, "Oh, you're gonna be so popular and stuff," which I could have
Which
sworn, or maybe
which
I misremembered.
I have to say I love that the transition here because it's actually the boys joking about them and how, oh, Nancy's going to make out with Steve Harrington.
Oh
Steve
yeah,
Steve the Hair Harrington, oh,
yeah.
he's horrible. And, and you get that whole thing that's said and then they instantly flash over to like the stuff with Nancy and what we're talking about right now with Steve popping up.
Which, I mean, to be honest, Steve is kind of like the typical '80s asshole.
Yeah, yeah.
He only thinks of one thing at this moment, and what that one thing is getting in Nancy's pants.
Yeah.
Like he wants to fuck Nancy. Which
Yeah, he does.
let's talk about that. Where they're in the bathroom just nonchalantly making out.
Yeah.
Making out in the school bathroom, which I never knew people making out in school bathrooms or whatever. So I guess, what floats your boat in the 80s. And Steve is trying to come on to Nancy really hard. He's like, "Yeah, we can go study in a quiet place, it'll be okay." And she's like, "No, I really seriously have to study. Like, I can't fuck up this quiz that I'm gonna have to be taking,"
Yeah.
which I think it's going to lead to something else, to be honest. Which we go into the boys, Lucas, Will, and Dustin. We see them getting bullied at school, where we see Dustin's dysplasia thing, where he has was it no top teeth?
So it's technically two different things. You have a weird growth with your bone system. So he doesn't have teeth, which is why they call him toothless.
Well, he doesn't have his top teeth, right?
He doesn't have either or.
I thought he does.
No, he had baby teeth, but he didn't have adult teeth.
Oh, is that why he has dentures later on?
Yeah, yeah, that's why it looks like it takes forever for them to come
Okay.
out. And then in between season 1 and 2 is when it's actually started happening for him in real life.
Uh,
Um, so yeah, that's why he's got kind of that gold frame around his teeth in season 1.
yeah.
But the other thing is, and it's harder to tell in this, but when they ask him to do the thing where you see his arms kind of go
Oh,
around,
he moves his arms forward.
yeah, he actually has no collarbones.
Yeah, which that freaked me out when he did that. It really freaked me out.
See, until I watched some of the other stuff where they had gotten him to do it outside of the show, I couldn't
Yeah.
tell that's actually what happened.
Yeah.
And it was really weird because kind of seeing that I've watched it all the different times and oh, he's double jointed, and it was no, he just doesn't have collarbones. So
Yeah, which is so weird to think of, you don't have collarbones.
yeah,
But we go from that where they're getting bullied. They end up in their I want to say science teachers. He's a science teacher, right?
yes,
Yeah, I think I don't remember what his name is, but they're asking, "Hey, is it here? Is it here?" And we find out that they're part of the AV. Is it AV club?
AV club, yeah.
Yeah, AV club, and they get this really cool radio where they can talk to people in Australia, and they think that they eat baby kangaroos, which
Right.
and we end up seeing I think the principal or vice principal shows up, and they start getting questioned by Hopper, where like they're kind of like talking over Hopper, kind of like trying to tell you like where Will went and stuff, but like Hopper's like, "What are you talking about? Like, what is this place?" And they're like, "Oh, it's from The Hobbit." "No, it's from Lord of the Rings." "It's the same fucking thing."
Yeah.
Which I love this banter back and forth between the kids. Like it feels like real and genuine, like friends.
Uh, Mr. Clark
Mr. Clark, okay, yeah.
is the teacher. Yeah, no, I agree, and I think that's one of the things that I absolutely like about part of this too is the fact that it does seem more organic
Yeah.
than not.
Like
It's
at times it doesn't feel like they're acting,
right. Yeah,
even though they're acting.
right.
And
Absolutely.
Hopper is like, "Look, you're not gonna get into this. You're not gonna be going around on your bikes looking, playing investigations or anything like that. You're to go home and like not look for your friend." And they're like,
Yeah,
"Oh no, we can help. It's okay, we can help." And just seeing like the presence of Hopper, and like all he had to do is like freaking stand up.
yeah.
And
Which is like he's a tall actor anyway,
yeah, yeah.
but it's really crazy seeing him now and how you have like
The
Finn, which is
the
Mike.
the kids.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
and like I think Finn's the one that's gotten the tallest out of them, and how like when you watch stuff now, like he almost seems taller than Hopper. But
yeah,
then when you watch this, you're like, oh my god, he's huge and they're they're tiny, and it's just that whole they're kids, and he's an adult at this time.
yeah, yeah. And by the end of this, they become adults or young
Yeah,
adults at this time, which
yeah,
I feel like I don't want to get too into it, but I feel like is somewhat of a detriment to the show is they had big gaps in production. Like years would go by.
well, and here's the weird thing about that is they actually worked it out to be that way.
Did they?
Yeah, yeah, I mean it's just weird, but yeah,
Okay, okay. Maybe I didn't know about that. But
yeah,
like it's just weird because like years would go by and like when are we getting Stranger Things and like seeing like them jump up in age and stuff and like, when we get into like the last season, like seeing like these kids aren't in high school.
yeah.
They're
Well,
like in their 20s.
I think one and two were a year from each other,
Yeah,
and then 2 to 3 was 2 years, 3 to 4 was 3 years, and 4 to 5 was 3 years.
yeah. And so
So
we
we we
go
had we definitely have a gap.
yeah, there's definitely a gap. And we go from that where we see, Joyce is at home with Jonathan and Hopper actually ends up finding the bikes or the bike that Will was on,
Yeah,
which they start to sort of investigate things here and there around the house. Hopper tries to pick up on stuff. Maybe things aren't like they like supposedly he thinks they are. And we also go back to the laboratory where we see
I was just about to bring that up. I was like, wait, we got to go back.
yeah, where we see and find out that experiments are happening at the laboratory and this weird black thing has sprouted up throughout the wall and they're trying
Yeah,
to figure out like what came from this and where is the girl.
looks
Like
like there was a big part of water damage.
yeah, with like really really bad like fungus or something.
Yeah. Well, and the weird thing is like when we see the first scene at the beginning of this, like we were talking about, where the two guys get attacked,
Yeah.
or whatever, because one of them we know what it is later on, the other one we don't. Um, but how clear it is, like you can tell it's clearly a facility. It looks like, a hospital, kind of, sort of,
Yeah.
with not so many people around. And then whenever we get to this part where they're walking through, everybody's in hazmat suits almost, and it looks like there's almost like a mist that is in the air.
Yeah. Yeah. Like they're trying to
So
like clean stuff or something or keep it like disinfected or something like that.
I think it's just spores from the from the opening or
You
from
think
that.
so?
Yeah,
Okay, that's an interesting theory right there.
yeah,
And so we move from that where we meet our other character. Some might say she is the main character of this show, even though it's kind of an ensemble cast. Where
yeah.
we meet this young little girl. She's in like a what do you call it? What's that thing that she's wearing?
She's in a hospital gown.
Hospital gown, yeah. And she's barefoot and she's looking a little dirty, like maybe a little like homeless or something. And
Yeah,
she goes to like a diner and she sees this man in a diner. He's preparing food and stuff. She finds some fries. She eats the fries. She tries to run away. And he's like, "Hey, boy, who told you could steal from me?" And he gets to this little girl and he finds out it's not a little boy, it's a little girl. And when he finds out it's a girl, his tone like fucking changes.
yeah.
Like a 180 at this point where
Well, and
he's
I don't necessarily think that it mattered if it was a boy or a girl. I think he ran in thinking that it was going to be a little boy because the head was shaved,
yeah,
realized it was a girl, and then kind of got to take the full scene in of like, okay, you're dirty, and not only that, you ran away from somewhere because your feet are also dirty, but you're wearing a hospital gown. Like,
yeah,
where would you have come from? Because
yeah.
as far as we know in Hawkins, there's not just a hospital around that you could go to.
There is a hospital. They have a hospital in Hawkins.
I thought it was a clinic.
No, they actually have like a hospital.
Okay.
'Cause if you watch the newest season, they are at the hospital at one point. We won't get into that, but they're at a hospital.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It was built later.
maybe I don't know because we only see like a part of Hawkins in the first season. We don't get the bigger scope until I think like season 2 or 3, maybe of Hawkins.
See, I don't think we get it till season 4.
Because Hawkins is like a small town, but
Yeah.
they do have like a hospital there.
Hawkins
Um,
is like mismatched everywhere. So sometimes watching this, and especially like after I had to learn how to do the map thing in Kids on Bikes, it makes me think that the way that describes how you make your map is basically like taking a handful of dice and like just throwing them on a sheet of paper. And it
yeah,
makes me feel like that's exactly how the map for what we know as Hawkins is made,
hmm,
because every season you do get a little more. And this season, it almost makes it seem like the biggest thing in Hawkins is the lab.
yeah.
And then you start realizing like we get little pieces like there's the newspaper in season 2, and then there's another thing. And so it's
The
really
mall,
weird. The mall,
the
you
mall,
know,
yeah,
the hospital. Like we get these weird things where you're like, was that really there? Is that
yeah,
true?
yeah,
So, it's kind of funny how it comes out that way from looking like a
yeah.
really small town with a lab in the middle of it or something, and then just growing out from there.
Yeah, which I think Will's house is close to the laboratory because going by it like there were like signs when he was riding his bike home to the
Yeah,
lab at one point. But yeah, we see go from there. You know, they're still trying to figure out what's going on. We meet Benny, who is the guy who runs the diner, and he's kind of bribing this young girl with food. And he's like, "Hey, what's your name? My name's Benny. Do you have any family? Like, what's your name? What's going on? Why are you in this situation?" Basically,
yeah,
and he's like, "I'll give you the rest of this food and as much as you want. You just need to fucking talk to me."
yeah. And then of
And
course, no talks, nothing.
no, no,
And at that point we do get a little break because he does look over and realize that there's a tattoo on the girl's arm,
yeah, it's 011.
which then we find out that she's called 11.
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, okay, 11. That's interesting." And he goes to make a phone call, and he's like calls what is like a it was like a crisis line or something or a helpline, I think it was
Yeah,
that he calls.
it wasn't like the poison line or something like that. It was
Yeah,
like a separate helpline for
yeah, because
other inquiries.
it wasn't 911. They didn't call 911.
Yeah.
And we see him like talking, and he's like, "Yeah, I think the girl maybe she is a runaway. Maybe she was abused. I don't know what she was, but she needs help." And we see the first inkling that something is up with this 11 character. She basically makes a fan stop with her mind.
Yeah, yeah.
She makes it stop, and they're like, "Whoa!" Like, okay, that's a little crazy. It's a little like that's a little weird, that she can do that. But what happens
Which,
next?
well, and I just want to point something out here. It appears that when he called, that it's like afternoon, a little afternoon,
Yeah,
because the guys that we see when 11 first went in there were coming in to have lunch.
true.
So it's a little after that
Yeah,
when
and
he
we
calls and
hear
everything else. And I think it's crazy because I think it was planned how this is going to end with Benny, because of how long they took.
yeah. So we find out that the laboratory is actually monitoring all the phone calls in Hawkins,
Yeah,
which is it's weird to think about that they can do that at this time, but they are like the government.
yeah.
And remind me like what happens after this part because my memory's a little fuzzy at this point of like what happens
Um,
next.
this is the one where Officer Hopper and the other two guys go to explore the road.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
And they end up like finding the bike and stuff.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, and then they go to but we already talked about this part.
We did. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Um,
what happens next? 'Cause I don't remember.
we we get to where Joyce ended up calling Lonnie finally.
Oh yeah, piece of shit, Lonnie.
Yeah, and
Piece
then
of shit.
basically like his girlfriend answered the phone,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously the animosity between, you know, the girlfriend and Joyce and all the shit with Lonnie and all that in general, is a pain in the ass. But we also have where Hopper and the other guys kind of like patrol around the building.
Mm-hmm.
They go through the
Yeah.
house to do all that. Out to the barn, or not the barn, the shed, which I just got to say, the shed from the outside really reminds me of the shed from ET.
I mean, it kind of is.
Yeah,
It kind of is basically.
yeah. Um, and of course, they're in a trailer, kind of, sorta.
Yeah. Which
Um,
which leads us back to 11 and Benny, I
yeah,
believe, to where we see somebody shows up and they basically kill Benny. They shoot him right in the head, which leads to 11 escaping. And while 11 is doing this, Will, Dustin, and Lucas are actually out
Mike.
looking for Will, right?
Yeah, Mike.
Oh, sorry, Mike, Lucas, and Dustin are looking for Will. And that's kind of how our episode ends.
Not
Where
yet.
it didn't. Yeah, that's how it ended, right?
No. Well, we still missed a few things. So
Okay.
we had where they were having dinner,
Uh-huh.
and Mike asked if they could go out, and that's when he walkie-talkied Lucas and Dustin, like, "Hey, let's meet up after dinner. We're going to sneak out."
Uh-huh.
And so they go out to do their own investigation
Which
on
I
what they're.
like their walkie-talkies.
Yeah,
I like the
but
way they look.
they're big like hand radios.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those things are huge. Which, like you said, the funny thing is too, where you have the whole uh thing with the boys where they're talking, and it's like, Lucas, you keep forgetting to say over.
Over.
Yeah. Um. So like that interaction is just fun. But we have that, and then whenever Mike is sneaking out, he actually sees Steve sneaking in.
Oh yes, that's right. I forgot about that. Which that scene was really, really funny.
Yeah,
Just
like
seeing him standing on a box trying to get up into this window,
yeah, onto that
which
part of the roof. Yeah,
which Steve tries so hard yet again to try to get into Nancy's pants. Like
yeah, he does.
he just wants to help her study. Study that
Yeah,
dick.
obviously,
Yeah.
obviously. Um, which obviously, part of that stuff happens. They are studying, and Nancy's still trying to be like, "Oh no, Steve, I'm not ready for part of that stuff."
Yeah.
Which slowly, I will say, starts feeling like Steve turns into a creeper.
Yes, Steve
Um,
definitely is a creeper at this point.
yeah, and then we kind of go from there into going back with the boys where they are going through that section of the woods that they know that Will would have went through, and then that's when they stumble upon in the rain.
Yes.
Who do they stumble upon?
11.
Yeah,
And that's where our episode ends.
yeah, yeah.
So let me ask you, just as a first episode, what did you think about this?
Um, After I've seen it like a bajillion
Yeah, just as a
times.
first episode in general. I know we're not gonna be like, oh,
Yeah,
like compare it to like episodes in the future, but like it's just an
yeah.
episode as a whole.
I'm gonna say I still feel like from when you watch this the first time until like a rewatch or something, that this episode, even though I've watched it many times, still holds strong.
Yeah.
Um, I still think that Benny is one of the best characters, even though we only get him in this episode.
Yeah.
Um, I still feel like it's fun getting to see the boys interact. It's still upsetting that Will gets basically taken, and we don't know what it is.
Yeah, which I don't want to say like for this season, but like we never really see Will in this season, except for maybe like flashbacks or whatever. Which
Yeah, flashbacks or things like that. Which I mean, we did have a part that we glazed over, really, which
yeah,
is where Joyce and Jonathan and Will built Castle Byers.
yeah, which is a little fort. I think it's like in the woods behind their house.
Yeah, yeah,
I think it is, which it's a pretty cool little fort.
yeah,
It's pretty cool. I don't think it can stand up to like the cold, but they had like sleeping bags in there and stuff,
yeah,
which
yeah.
it made me wonder: did he sleep out there ever at nighttime, or like did they camp
Probably,
out there?
probably.
You know, but yeah, which that was a fun little scene where like she was like kind of messing with him and poking him. I'm like, oh, I got tickets to the poltergeist. You gonna be scared? You gonna be
Yeah,
scared of the clowns? Like apparently he's also scared of like witches too. Uh,
yeah,
but that was a fun little scene that we did actually gloss over. Um, but I have to say, like rewatching this episode for the first time in quite some time, like it hooked me back into it, and I noticed little things here and there, like little details like here and there with like the characters and just watching like in the background, like the minute little details in the background what I thought were
yeah,
like a very nice touch. And like it really like gives off like mystery like Goonie vibes almost.
yeah.
Like it
No,
def
I agree. I feel like it's nostalgic
yeah.
because it keeps you wanting to come back, and I would put it on the same level. Like, even though I've watched it 100 times and you've watched it 100 times, like E.T. and the Goonies, like are always very memorable. You're always
I
like, oh my god, I
actually
can't wait.
I actually don't like ET.
You're a dick. You take that back right now, Mister.
I don't care for ET.
Maybe we should watch it again, and you'll
Uh
you'll have the same thing. You'll be like,
The
you know,
original version or the we took the guns away and replaced them with walkie talkies version?
I don't know.
So you didn't know this? So in
Maybe, I
ET,
don't know.
Steven Spielberg like went and like changed things, sort of like George Lucas did with Star Wars,
Yeah.
and changed certain things out. Specifically with like the government agency, they came in with guns and he replaced them all with walkie talkies. It's just weird.
I don't know. I don't know if I've seen that or not then.
Yeah, you'll have to go back and look and just look for that, you know. But yeah, I just never really cared for ET as a kid. Like honestly, like ET scared me as a kid.
Maybe as an adult you'll care about
E-
it.
ET scared me as a kid.
I I will tell you two things. ET always made me mad because the pizza scene right at the beginning where they drop the box and I'm like, "No, not the pizza."
Anyways,
Um
back on
and
the
then
Stranger Things.
the other thing is the Skittle scene, which I was always like, "Man,
There weren't Skittles, they were
you,
Reese's Pieces.
you have to love Skittles."
They were Reese's Pieces.
I don't.
They
The
were
first time
Reese's.
the first time they were Skittles though, right?
No, they're Reese's Pieces.
I thought that was after he got him inside.
No, they're Reese's Pieces.
They're always Reese's Pieces?
Yeah.
No, we're gonna have to look this up after.
But no, like going back to Stranger Things, like
Yeah,
it is very nostalgic, but like it does a very good job of like setting up like the tone of the show to being like, oh man, like what actually happened. And like we I like it that which going forward, like specifically with this first season, I would say, we we find out things when the characters in the show find them out.
yeah,
Like we don't know ahead of time, you know, and stuff like that. Now people like make theories and all this kind of shit online about Stranger Things, but it's this very simple first episode that really does draw you in and like makes you like, I mean, all these characters are kind of flawed, but like kind of care about what's going on in this situation,
yeah.
you know? I mean, which I feel like that's a very strong aspect to this show. But yeah, I mean,
I agree.
yeah,
I I really think that it gets you in because we've all been in that place of kids and what else have we done? The kids that we ran around with, especially like at this time. I don't think a lot of kids nowadays get to do it because like you almost have to be a helicopter parent because
yeah, yeah,
you know there's a chance nowadays that people aren't scared enough to not try and steal your kids or whatever. you
yeah,
um but this one, like, I remember doing this, like, me and a couple of my friends, like, walking down to the school because we were going to play on the jungle gyms and shit, and
yeah,
or play baseball in the field and things like that. Like, it's nostalgic, and I think that's why it resonates with like a lot of people our age and a little under our age because it's in that time frame that we probably all are close to
yeah.
remembering.
It takes us back to a simpler time where we would all come home and our parents would not be there.
Yeah.
We we were
or they
latchkey
or
kids.
they were there, and
Yeah,
it was like, well, just be home before like the street lights come on, a little bit
yeah,
before that, like,
but yeah,
so
yeah,
and I think that and then it kind of dwindles down from all of us to like our kids, and it's something that we can kind of connect on and like, you know which, I mean, I have to say one thing that always like trips me up because I've watched this with my niece
mm-hmm.
is asking me about the yellow box on the wall.
The yellow box on the wall.
Yeah, at the Byers house.
What was the yellow box on the wall? I don't think I saw that.
It's a rotary phone.
Oh, the telephone. Okay,
Yes. And
okay.
and it's like, what is that? And it's like, that's what a telephone looks like.
I will say they did a very good job of like sticking to like the 80s.
They did,
I
yes.
know they kind of misstep here and there a couple times, but it's very rare. but everything is pretty authentic to like the time period.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, which that stuff must have been hell to find for like the production of it and stuff and like all that. Uh,
Yeah, I feel like the cars probably were the hardest part because some of that they probably staged where it was like, uh, oh, well, this is a thing, but technically it's only a TV that's inside of a, like a box to make it look like it's this thing, or
I mean, who knows? I don't know.
yeah, yeah,
I don't know, but yeah, I'm looking forward to. I would say seeing where this goes, but I already know where it goes. But rewatching it again for
yeah.
like with
Well, and
a fresh look.
I would like to say what you just said earlier,
Uh huh.
and even though I've rewatched season one a lot, and everything kind of dwindles off as you go, but I would say watching it to see if there's any new things that I notice in the background,
Yeah,
because even though you can watch something 100 times, you can always see if there's something new.
that's true, and maybe they were like putting plot threads in at the beginning. You never know.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
think they were 100%. Sometimes I feel like they're just making shit as they went on.
No, but I mean, there's little things that you could point out, like, what if we were watching this and go, I've never noticed the brand of the ice cream that Eleven was eating,
True.
or something like that. There's going to be something that
I
sticks
will.
out.
I
Like,
will say in the
one of the things that stuck out to me in this one, rewatching it today, and you're going to think it's the stupidest thing, but 11 coming in after Benny threw the trash out
uh huh.
and seeing all the cans on the shelf and realizing like the labels that were on the cans. I'm like, part of those cans looked like the same labeling of like carrots or like corn and stuff that we have today.
They probably were.
And I just noticed it and I was like, that's a little weird. Wasn't corn a little different than?
The thing I that stuck out for me isn't even in this season, but it was in season 5.
Yeah.
How much fucking Dr. Pepper they drank.
Oh my gosh, right?
Which we won't even get into that right now. But like the subtle product placement that gets put into this show as it goes on is insane.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Uh
and one of the other ones that always trips me up in this too is the pizza box.
oh, yeah.
Have you ever seen a pizza box that big again?
No. I don't think I
So,
have.
yeah. So I mean, there's certain things that I remember as a kid like that was huge.
Yeah.
And now we have like the size that we have now.
Yeah, I know. Do you
So,
ever remember the pizza? It was called like maybe you don't remember because it was in like in the 90s, but it was like it was called like the Bigfoot pizza, where it was from like Pizza Hut, I think it was, and it was like a foot long pizza.
like a
Like it,
small one?
no, it was like big. It was big and it was cut up into little slices, but it was like a foot long and it came in a really long box. You'd have to go look it up. Like it was
I don't remember that. I will tell you what I remember like that though.
okay.
I remember when Subway had the big ass party sub.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was kind
And
of like the party sub, but for pizza.
yeah, yeah. But I
But
feel I feel like I do remember something. Maybe not the pizza being that big, but they did still have the Bigfoot mascot for a little while.
yeah, but yeah, I am looking forward to covering this as we go along. I would love to hear other people's thoughts on this. So you can reach out to us on our YouTube page at Otakuology and comment. Let's conversate about this. Jen, where can I find you?
You guys can find me at Otakuology as always. You can also find me at Bard's Tavern on Instagram, Manga Restart on Instagram, and you can also find me at Tabletop Misfits for D&D type content.
You can also find me at the Otaku Mike on YouTube, as well as on Instagram as well as on Otakuology. And we'll catch you guys on the next one. Stay strange.
See you next Tuesday, Demogorgons.